welcome to another episode of Allison's Eats. I am so excited for today's recipe. It is one I have made so many times this past year, and you've probably seen it in my vlogs before, but it is the spicy Ethiopian stew. And this recipe comes from Walt Disney World, actually. The first time we ever tasted it was at Epcot's International Food and Wine Festival, and Brandon and I fell in love with it. And then I kind of forgot about it for a while, but then one day when I was looking for meal ideas for dinner for us for the week, I was trying to look for something similar, and I noticed that they posted it on Disney Parks blog, the full recipe of how to make the exact stew. So I was so excited, and it turned out really yummy. So I'm going to show you guys today exactly how I make it, and I'll link the recipe down below. It's super nutritious, super affordable, and most importantly, super delicious. So let's get right into it. Okay, I have my recipe all pulled up. It's really easy to follow, so I definitely appreciate that. I pretty much have it memorized at this point too, so that's always helpful. And then I laid out all my ingredients. I do make a couple minor adjustments to the recipe, so I'll kind of walk you through that. But guys, this is how many spices this recipe calls for. How funny is that? It's seriously my whole spice cabinet, basically. So good. And spices actually have a lot of nutritional value, and I love a lot of flavor and spice. So if you do too, this is definitely the recipe for you. And I did want to note that the recipe does not call for a green bell pepper, but I just have one that's kind of about to go bad. You can kind of see the wrinkles on it. I've had it for over a week now. So I'm just gonna add it in for some extra nutrients, and so I don't waste it. And another thing to note is that the recipe actually calls for red lentils, but I wasn't really able to find any the first time I made them. I went to Walmart and Publix, and I was not able to find red lentils. So I just got the regular lentils, and it turned out amazing. So I've just been using the regular lentils ever since. I think they are easier to find and probably a tiny bit cheaper as well. So that's awesome. Okay, so I got the apron on. Nice and fabulous. I get a lot of questions about this apron, and it is from Anthropologie. I got it so long ago, but they always have precious aprons, so I can link a couple other cute ones down in the description. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is chop my onions and bell pepper and my garlic. I actually have some onions chopped up already, so I'm just gonna use these, and then I'll chop up another one to kind of equal 2 onions, and then I actually put my onions in the freezer because I have the worst luck with crying whenever I cut onions. It just hurts my eyes so much, and someone commented before that if you put them in the freezer like 10 minutes before you're chopping them, it helps. I think it might have something to do with like it helps the juices not squirt out as much so that it gets in your eye. I'm not really sure, but I've been doing it ever since, and I like to think that it helps a little bit. And I'm also gonna go get my blue light glasses and put those on to serve as like a little shield. But I think I definitely need to invest in some onion goggles ASAP. Hi little onions, you're coming with me. To report that no tears were shed in the making of this dinner, at least not yet, hopefully never. I have so much onion. I actually like to chop a little extra onion because we actually top it with onion a little bit too. So yeah, lots of onion, lots of garlic in this recipe, super healthy in that aspect, but also I do not recommend to make this for a first date or romantic setting because your breath is gonna stink. So once your onion and garlic and green bell pepper, if you decide to add that as well, is all chopped, you can get it going on your Dutch oven. So before you add in your veggies, you're gonna wanna spray or pour in some olive oil. So I just kinda eyeball it just to make sure it kinda covers the bottom of your Dutch oven. And if you don't have a Dutch oven, you can totally make this in just a regular pot or a crock pot. have your aromatics, aka your onion and garlic, in the pot, you can turn your stovetop on medium-high heat and let them start to saute. I'm also just gonna move them around a bit so that they can kind of get some oil, and the garlic and onion will be mixed around. Okay, they are nice and steamy. My eyes are getting a little sensitive to all the aromatic steam and scents in the air, but it's smelling really, really yummy. And now we're gonna turn the heat up to high and add 4 cups of vegetable stock. Okay, now that you have your vegetable stock in your pot, we're gonna prep our lentils and wait for that all to boil. So we need 2 cups of lentils, and it's always a good idea to rinse them out beforehand. So I'm gonna do that real quick and keep a close eye on my pot. And once it starts boiling, I can add them in. Okay, so we have our aromatics, we have our vegetable broth, we have our lentils. Finally, the last thing to do is add in all of our yummy spices. It is quite the task though, because there are so many. And I feel like for a lot of my recipes, I kind of just eyeball spices and we'll just sprinkle in some salt and pepper, garlic powder, onion powder. But for this particular recipe, I do take the measurements a little more seriously, because there are a lot of intense spices like ginger and allspice and coriander. So I do follow the directions a lot more thoroughly, just to ensure I don't accidentally do a tablespoon of allspice instead of cumin. So actually there isn't any cumin in here, but that was just a silly example. So definitely follow the directions and use the measuring spoons, but let's go do that now. How colorful and pretty all of our spices look. One thing to note, I did add extra cayenne pepper because we are just spice obsessed eaters. So of course, don't do that if you don't like spicy food. And then I also added in some onion powder, which the recipe did not call for, but I always add onion powder pretty much to every recipe, just for some extra flavor. Also crushed ground pepper. I added a little bit of that just to taste. So totally optional, but I wanted to share what I do. So now I'm just going to mix it all together. Oh my goodness, so satisfying. And then we are just going to put our stovetop on simmer and let it sit for 30 minutes. Smelling and looking so delicious, and this is my little toppings bar I set up. So like I said, I like to top it with a little onions, and then I also have some more green pepper I'm gonna top it with, and then quinoa, of course. And this is our favorite way to top it, with some Greek fat-free plain yogurt. Well, it doesn't have to be fat-free, that's just the one that I have. And this tastes so much just like sour cream. It's really thick and cooling, so it's a really good contrast to the lentils. And then of course, I top it with a lot of hot sauce, because you guys know hot sauce is my way of life.
There is a life I lead in this city, hurrying to cut my teeth. I can take what I need to get by. It doesn't make it easy.
All right, here we go. Time for a taste test. Again, I have made this so many times, so I can already have a pretty good idea of what it tastes like, but my mouth is still watering nonetheless. It's nice and steamy too. It's so yummy and flavorful. It is spicy, but like I said, I did add a lot of cayenne pepper and a lot of hot sauce, so if you don't like spicy, I definitely think you could still enjoy this recipe. Just kind of be a little more conservative with the spices, but I really hope you guys enjoy this recipe and you're able to cook it and enjoy it in real life soon. But thank you guys so much for watching Allison's Eats, and I'll see you soon. Bye!